May the light of Jesus be with all. Help us to reflect, having the open mind that we needed to understand in this lesson. And now it's amazed me how the opening match with the topic, because what we're going to talk today is about to love your enemies. And of course, the play of understanding reincarnation, understanding why we have the people in our life that sometimes is so difficult to deal with, right? And God in his mercifulness help us to forget what was done in the past. But for sure, there is a lesson for us to understand. So our goal today is to invite everyone to go in a ride with us, me and Jesus. So we are all coming along because Jesus gives us the perfect path for us to understand, embrace, and transform what we consider an enemy and love above it all. So the gospel in Matthew says, I say to you, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who persecute and malign you, so that you may be children of your Father who is in heaven. If the principle of charity is to love one's neighbors, then to love one's enemy is the most sublime application of the same principle, seeing that the possession of this virtue represents one of the greatest victories which be achieved against selfishness and pride. So right here we understand if we have animosity and create somehow an enemy, requires us to work in our selfishness and pride. That's the first step. And through the study of the doctrine, we learn if we conquer dissolve one enemy energy that we have, only one, we already win this incarnation. Is that awesome? I find it is awesome. Do you agree with me? So it's not easy to embrace that, because sometimes we harbor this feeling in our heart and we say, are you kidding me? How can I love that person who felt this way when you read this? It's kind of hard, isn't it? So this ride is about to understand how can we transform that. So our goal is to show us in this talk how harmful it is to us to harbor, to nest any animosity in our heart. We are going to experience how that affects us. And also we are going to experience how we change that and how we can truly say, I'm prepared and I'm ready to dissolve any animosity. Who is ready to dissolve animosity in your heart, even you don't know how to? Who is tired of harboring that energy in your energy field? Just us are tired? Nobody else? Thank you. Okay? So we are going to do a little experiment, okay? If I ask you, do you have someone that you have a little animosity with? Do you have? Some of us has someone that just annoyed us. Someone has someone that irritates us. One of us might have one that really bugs us. And we have some people that really we consider enemy, that we don't want anything to do with it. You find yourself in any of this category? One or two, maybe three? Okay, so we are home, right? So we are going to do an exercise so we truly experience what feels like to nest that feeling. You can pick one person that you have a little something with. Please don't get your biggest enemy of this incarnation. Let's be gentle, okay? Do you have in your mind someone that you have a little something against? So please close your eyes. I'm going to guide you, okay? So put your attention on this person. Just close your eyes and allow yourself to feel the annoyance that provokes. Remember what happened. Remember how you felt and how you still feel. Notice how it triggers so many feelings and sensations inside of you. Notice your vibration. Feel it. Scan your body and notice where does the tension relies. Notice what it feels like to hold that resentment in your body, in your heart. Okay. Shake it up. You can open your eyes. You don't need to be with your enemy right now. Open your eyes. Okay. Anybody would you like to share what's experience? You felt annoyed? Don't be shy. You can share. You felt the... Huh?
It was very painful.
It was painful to remember? Okay. You felt the tension? Was it pleasant?
Uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable? Okay. And that's one of viewpoint we need to understand. The energy is right there with you. When you put your attention, you relieved the whole upsetting. And that's what we carry around. Okay? Now, do you have someone that you really love or really like to be with? That's easy, right? We have many, right? So let's do the opposite now. Pick someone that you really like, you love to be with. Close your eyes again and feel what it feels like to be with that person. Feel what you feel when you look at the person. Feel the tenderness, the love. Notice how your body feels. Scan your body and notice what you experience just by put your attention on this person. Remember why you feel so close and tender. Remember why you love them, why they're your friend. Okay? How was it now? Different, huh? Yeah. So that's our choice. Deciding what we're going to nest in our heart. We do have a choice. This program of the gospel educates us that we have a choice. It's up to us what kind of feelings we are going to harbor in our heart. You could see how dramatic difference in your energy field, right? And the good thing about it, we are going to see how easy, it's much easier than we think to transform that energy, to dissolve that vibration of tension and animosity that we harbored, and how easy it is to embrace. By the way, if you ever pick yourself remember about a negativity, animosity of someone, now you experience the opposite, right? So anytime you are in a difficult situation, just close your eyes and remember someone, a moment that you felt good. And it helps if you put your hands in your heart, and if you can hold that feeling for 1 minute, the hormones release in your body and shower your energy with that love and tenderness. And that shift your energy, shift your attention to a more uplifting energy field. That is one of the reasons we need to learn how to manage our energy. So remember that. So it's very easy for us to be triggered in animosity. Who felt sometimes you think about someone that annoyed you and you carry that person to work, to your meal, to your driving, to your sleep? Who knows what I'm talking about? Remember, we have choice. This exercise alone can shift you out of it and remind you, I have a choice. So we are going to see how we can free ourselves from this. This is what happened. Every time we have animosity, this energy stays right there with us. You see how it's present in your energy field? It's registered in your perispirit. Everybody here understand what perispirit is? Is anybody new here from Spiritism? Okay, everybody understand. So when we are aggravated, when we are annoyed, when we consider some animosity and harbor that in our heart, that energy stay with us. And you see, just you put your attention, you felt everything, right? So it's very, very important to understand when we are in this situation, we are registering in our cells, in our energy field, that. And it's like very toxic for our body. Because when we are doing this exercise, our body did not know that we are in the remembering mode. Our body thinks happening right now because the energy is so alive. So all the adrenaline reach our body all over again. You felt that, right? And when we that repeatedly, day and night, that hurts our organs, hurts our mind, hurts our emotion, hurts our energy field, okay? And another viewpoint we need to consider, a malevolent thought emits a fluid current with those impressions and is painful. So every time we are connecting our animosity with someone, we are locked in this energy field because we think and we are emanating that energy, and that is painful. Sometimes we are driving and think about our enemy, but in reality we are sending them thoughts. If the person is open to receive, guess what? They are going to feel it. The same way we feel when someone sends it to us. If we are open to receive it, we will feel it. That is so important that we be vigilant with our energy and what we accept from others. And many times when we are in an argument, we feel drained. Don't you feel drained when you finish an argument? You're okay like that, right? Because it's heavy. That energy is really painful and really exhausts us. How many times we have a little something, woke up 2 o'clock in the morning and think, what am I going to do? And this person I'm going to say that. And you woke up absolute deprived and exhausted. Who knows what I'm talking about, right? It is common because we don't know yet how to protect yourself. To this morning, now you do. Now you know what to do. And another viewpoint I want to bring it up, you see that last one. Sometimes we create animosity just by not being careful with our intentions. Sometimes we mislead others. Sometimes we manipulate others. And sometimes people manipulate us and mislead us. And when that happens, the energy is locked. If I do like that with someone else, put a happy face, but underneath I have intention to hurt, that is painful. That malevolent thought is going to lock us in this energy field. It's very painful. We don't notice. We think we are misleading good. The other person won't do to us think, oh, I'm doing fine because nobody's noticing. But guess what? Your energy field is noticing and is registering everything. So we need to be mindful of that. So a benevolent thought envelops us in a pleasant emanation. This is the reason for different sensations that we experience when we are close to a friend. To love one's enemy, therefore, cannot mean showing affection, which would not be within our nature, as contact with an enemy makes our heart beat in an entire different manner to the way it beats on contact of a friend. So that explanation so far makes us understand very is the gospel, isn't it? That's what the gospel says. It is just impossible to feel exactly the same. When I look to Cecilia and I have this energy, it's so wonderful to be with her. Welcome back, by the way. We miss you. It is so wonderful because the vibration is loving and cozy. But if I have something, if an enemy enter there, I might be a little rigid. I'm not relaxed anymore. So it's natural. It's natural. We cannot show the same tenderness. This is conquer with our friendship, with our trust, with those drops of love that we create a relationship, right? And just consider this, the people we love, the people that are our friends, we don't get along all that well, am I right? We always have a little something with loved ones because we don't know how to love all that well, am I right? So imagine what it means to build a relationship with someone we have a little something with. So we are here to learn how to love, point. That's the reincarnation. It is about us to learn how to love. And we improve our ability to love a lot more, a little better more our friends. So we know how to to manage and use that love and energy as a reference point for us to embrace the other difficult relationships. And a very important distinction I want to do, the diversity of feelings in these two different circumstances, the result of physical law is a simulation of ripples of fluids. We need to understand it's law. It's not because I choose not to get along with someone. It is the repulsion of fluids in animosity. We have no idea how this field of fluids and energy is powerful. When we become aware how powerful that is, how powerful when I understand a thought that is malevolent, that is, I don't like that person. It is a malevolent thought. How powerful and how quick that goes. In one of the books, André Luiz tells a very interesting story. He's in his process of learning, and he's visiting a service, a funeral that is happening. And that two friends next to the deceased person commenting about the person. He was a very important person. He was very influential. He also one day told me that he knows a murderer that killed someone, but he could not say anything because this person was very eminent, so he kept quiet. And André Luiz was observing that conversation, and immediately in that room, a horrendous figure entered from the spiritual realm and said, I am here, I'm the murderer. Who is calling me? Are you the judge? And he jumped on the person who was coming. So in our dimension, the person could not see that negative influence, that he thought was like a telegram, a phone call to that murder he was referring to very casually. No much intention there, was it? But just by mentioning it, and he thought in this fluid energy, attract the murder. And André Luiz said he was a horrendous person, followed by another gang of horrendous persons. And they all surrendered the guy, and the guy started shivering and he could not understand what was happening. Everybody thought he was having an episode. And André Luiz said, if he only knew the quality of his thoughts, would attract that. So this is an explanation. There is so many feelings around. We need to be vigilant. What kind of thoughts we are harboring. There is usually a misunderstanding in relation the meaning of word love in this situation. It can also be a virtue representing human kindness, compassion, and affection, the unselfish, loyal, and benevolent concern for good of another. So when we think about that, when we use the word love, when we barely don't know how to love all that well our friends and family, that's not what Jesus wanna mention. He's bringing another quality of love. That means a virtue, a kindness, a compassion toward someone that is really in a difficult situation. We're going to see a little bit of more of that. When he spoke, Jesus did not mean that each one of us should have the same tenderness for an enemy as be felt for a brother, sister, friend. Love means trust. We cannot trust someone that we know that wants to harm us. So it's very natural that we cannot love someone, because love means trust. And we cannot trust someone that we know is trying to harm us. Am I right? And many of us get in a lot of trouble because do not understand that. Many people trust immediately like that. But then the person is not worthy of our trust, has not demonstrated yet, has not conquered our trust. And we get hurt. And that's where many times we get in a lot of conflicts and animosity because we do not understand that. Love means to trust. So that means trust needs to be built in a relationship slowly. And the person says what they are going to do and do what they are going to do repeatedly. So we start getting more comfortable, and the trust is building, and the relationship is building. Right? So in that matter, we cannot love someone that wants to hurt us. So it's another viewpoint what Jesus want to say, love your enemies. And especially imagine 2,000 years ago, the vocabulary was not all that great. So many of the words has different meanings through his action to help us to understand. Good so far? On the Spirit's book, in the question 887, Jesus has also taught to love your enemies, but isn't to love our enemies contrary to our natural tendencies, and doesn't it proceed from a lack of sympathy between the spirits? Undoubtedly, it's not possible to show tender and passionate love towards one's enemy, and that's not what he wants to say. To love your enemy means to forgive them and to return good for their evil. It's thus that we evolve by vigilance. We only place ourselves beneath it. So, in our part, what Jesus wants to say, to love one means for us to forgive them and to return good to evil. So there are two aspects that it's very hard. When you're hurt, it's very hard. Isn't it hard to forgive when someone really hurt us? And return good for the evil. What Jesus wants to say is for us to work in ourselves so we can act according to our dignity. We don't want to act according to their dignity. We want to act according to our own dignity. And that's the lesson for us that interests us here. Doesn't matter what the person does, in a sense that I want to vengeance. Is that the way to say vengeance? Vengeance. Because we understand the divine law. We trust the divine law. So every actions that we do, anybody does, hurt someone, eventually they are going to be held responsible. We don't need to, that's not our job. That's the divine law job, and it's impeccable, and it's precise and just perfect. We don't need to worry about that. What we need to worry about is why we are triggering that situation in the first place. This is our job. And when we do that, we act with dignity. And that's what Jesus wants. He wants us to act with dignity. So, to love one's enemy means holding either hatred, rancor, or desires revenge against them. It means forgiving them unconditionally and without ulterior motives for the evil they have caused us. It means not set up any obstacles to reconciliation, waiting the good for them instead of wishing them evil. It means to rejoicing instead of despairing for the good that reaches them, to help them in case of necessity, and to abstain either in word or act from anything that might harm them. Finally, means repaying their evil with good in everything, with no intention to humiliate them. Whoever can proceed in this manner fulfills the condition of the commandment, love your enemies. Sounds easy, doesn't it? But it's not easy at all, isn't it? Because the whole situation that happened, it brings up our lessons. It is our lessons. Because studying the doctrine, studying the divine laws, we understand there is no victim. Everybody understand that? Even though in the moment that we feel hurt, and momentary looking in this present situation, we might feel victim of the circumstance. But the moment you meditate a little more and see the bigger picture, you understand there is a divine justice. We experience the results of our choices and actions, whether we like it or not. Because when we are in a situation that is very hard, it's very difficult to see, I create that? How that's possible? You understand what I'm saying, right? When something is good, oh, that's good, I'm going to church, I pray, merit, my merit, that's why it's so wonderful. We very easily embrace the law, right? But when things go really wrong, we don't understand. And we have been blaming and point fingers about others hurting us. You see what they did to me? Oh, we forget this lesson. And Jesus invites us to do all that. By doing those actions, we take responsibility to understand that in some way, somehow, we make a choice and the consequences is showing up. We are getting the bill. Because every action we do against the law eventually is going to come for us to take responsibility. And one more viewpoint. Be reconciled with your adversary quickly while you are with him, on the way with him, so that he doesn't hand you over the judge, and so that the judge doesn't hand you over the minister of justice, so that you might not be prisoner. Verily I say to you that you not live there as long as you have not paid the last 40. Matthew. So analyzing with the Spiritist perspective, understanding the law of cause and effect, according to reincarnation, if we don't forgive on this experience, we will have to forgive or ask for forgiveness a later time. Jesus warned us to make peace with our enemies while we walk with him, because we want to achieve freedom until we do so. So understanding Jesus wants us free. Jesus wants us to act in a more freely way with our dignity, not being imprisoned in those feelings that put us down, does not let us to progress. Very important. So, Winston Churchill said, when there is no enemy within, the enemies outside cannot hurt us. So, this is the importance of our change. The work we do in our inner transformation. There is no other way. If the situation presents itself, it's because God felt now you are prepared to embrace this lesson. And that's the good news. You're ready to let yourself free from this misery. Because being trapped in that energy field that you don't have the freedom even to think, it is a prison, isn't it? When you can't sleep, you can't work, you cannot have peace. You are in prison in that energy battle. And only the work, and it's hard like this, isn't it, our inner transformation? The door is so locked, it has been locked because we are accustomed to put under the rug our imperfections, our mistakes. We don't want anybody to see because we have so little self-love and self-esteem that we needed to be seen as a nice person. So we hide even from ourselves. So the battle in the inner transformation is to break that door and work. What lesson I need to learn here? Because somehow I'm participating in this conflict, and my responsibility is to change the circumstance. And the question is, what are you going to do to change these circumstances? Burning question. What are you going to do? Right? And this is here to clarify to us step by step what to do so we can let ourselves free in this work. And when we understand for us to remove anger, resentment, whatever is there, require us to clean up. There is nobody can do that. We can come here daily to have healing hands. There is amount of blessings that we receive that alleviate our suffering. But what we are harboring in our heart is our job. Nobody can do that for us. And our inability to forgive and let go the animosity in our life is very proportional of our inability to clean up our heart. If you don't know how to handle your anger, your frustration, you won't probably forgive. Because they go together. The feelings are there, those sensations are there to educate us. If you're not willing to see the lesson, they will hang in there until you're good and ready. And I want to bring another circumstance. And also in the Spirit's book, can spirits know our most secret thoughts? They often know about what you would like to conceal even from yourself, but neither acts or thoughts can be concealed from them. So it would be easier to conceal something from a person would it be easier to conceal something from a person while alive than to do so after the person has died? Certainly, as we think that you are well concealed, you often have a crown of spirits around you, watching you. And that is the truth. We need to understand that. So when you are arguing and create this animosity, you have a crown of spirits watching you. And if you have enemies that you fell in past incarnations to reconcile, they are there. Say, you see how I'm right? Look at what they are doing now with these people. And they potentialize the animosity. Can you imagine that? This is an extra layer that we need to be very careful. When we harbor those thoughts, we attract the same energy. Is the law of affinity. So one more reason for us to learn, to uplift our thoughts, to clean our heart. So you see what crown of spirits you're attracting. Like, pay attention what you're feeling. You know the quality of spirits surrounding you. And I'm not saying to scare you, I'm saying to alert you. Because they are there anyway. It's not the words. Just helping you to become a little bit more aware. So if you pick yourself in that mental fight, because when we have an enemy, we kind of talk with them all the time, right? They're going to say this, I'm going to say that, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to say that. Mm-hmm. And their potato is cooking. You see, we're going to win. It's not that the energy that goes here? And we have a cloud of spirits potential like that. And we attract also their enemies of the other party too, and become a very heavy cloud around us. That's why it's so hard sometimes to break that energy field. However, and especially the ones that are misleading, that energy of misleading, you think like nobody's seeing, and I'm going to do this because nobody's seeing, making me show a nice picture in the situation. They are seeing that. You cannot hide anything. In the spirit world, the thoughts are hands. They don't need to understand your language. They don't need to say a word, because everything we feel and we do is photographed in our perispirit. You understand that, right? So they just look at you, they know exactly. Because here we can put a nice clothes and put a lipstick. You look the best of me, right? But if my heart does not have good intentions, you might not notice. I can mislead you quite good if I want to, right? In the spiritual realm, no. You show as you are, truly are in your heart, because everything is registered in your perispirit. So we need to be careful. If we are in a situation that someone is misleading us or manipulate us, we need to check. Am I doing that to someone else? Because this show up in my life. Why? And that is the inner transformation work we need to do. And especially when we have a friend with, and in that tender, loving relationship, the crown of spirits are also looking at us. And many times, because we are changing, they are noticing. If you have an enemy that we fail to make peace with, but they see, Abigail changed. She's nice now. Because it's registering my energy, and that helps to lift. So it's a very important viewpoint. And here Jesus guides us to our healing. So when Jesus say, "Blessed are the poor of spirits, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." So in this beatitude, we learn how important it is to let go pride and become humble. So if you have a difficulty to let go viewpoints like I'm right, you are wrong, please study this beatitude, because take that crystallized layer of pride that make our life, there is no way out. I'm right and you are wrong. I'm better than you. I know better. Those are very rigid viewpoints that our pride crystallize in our energy, and from that space it creates a lot of animosity. So that's why Jesus gave us this beatitude to alert us. So if you're having your ego, your pride in a way, and your forgiveness, please study this beatitude. Listen to all talks that refer to this, so you can learn to soften one layer of your pride. So you can humble, because it's from the humbleness humbleness that is the birth of forgiveness. If we don't bring the humbleness, it's hard to forgive. Then Jesus encourages us, blessed are the afflicted, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to them. In this beatitude, we learn the causes of our affliction. We understand that if I'm suffering something, you can count on you create with your choices, because we are a sum of ourselves. And that is the beatitude that teaches us to really own our pain and cry and embrace that so we can transform. That's the feeling that heals, because the layer of pride is gone and you embrace, yes, I'm here, I'm in pain, I'm afflicted, but we know Jesus is consoling us. It's very humbling. And that's the beginning of our healing and forgiveness. Then, blessed are the meek, for shall inherit the earth. In that beatitude, we learn even more to be meek. That means to say, let me see how I contributed for that conflict to happen. You are more soft because you are already more humble. You already own that you have a contribution there, and help to see, let me learn why this conflict show up for me, what there is in here. And when we are meek in that way, the potentiality of the good spirits around us, they help us a lot, because they need us to open that much of our door for them to shower us, potentialize our effort to understand. It's like getting a magnet glass to look in the situation so you see a reflection of you there. And sometimes our contribution is 1%. But if we don't handle this 1%, you are stuck and prisoner there. And always remember, the other person is between them and God. Your responsibility is to understand why you get insulted in the first place. Because if I'm not insulted, I don't need to forgive. I don't have a conflict. You can come to me and attack me in a very way. If I'm in my disharmony, I feel very insulted and you become my enemy. But if I'm in center, if I did my prayers, I'm in peace, and does not have any trigger on me, I'll be able to look with compassion and say, just like me another day, she's a little confused. And you move on. You do not accept. If you accept the insult, because it's yours, and the other person is just showing a very high volume, something that you don't want to see here, and that's the meekness give you to go there and get that piece of you and clean up your heart, because then you can walk in the mud and never get your finger dirt, your foot dirt. And that's the joy of clean up your heart. You don't get triggered. Sometimes the person is so confused, get you triggers for everything that happened and blame everybody for it. And that's the meekness help us to be meek and understand, if I felt insult, this is mine. Let me handle. And that's one of the steps for forgiveness. And then Jesus said, if you do these steps, blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. From that space, you embrace your lesson and you understand how your contribution to the conflict. And sometimes the contribution for the conflict was not from this incarnation, it's past incarnation. So all this work help you to check on you, clean up your heart. And from that space, there is an opening for a compassionate eyes, a little more empathy, and understand, just like me, he's learning about life. That person also make mistake, just like I did last week. So we open. So all these beatitudes it goes around the indication how Jesus can help us in our healing. So we can dissolve any animosity in our heart. So we can be in peace. And that's the work we need to do to get into regeneration. When charity finally becomes the general rule of conduct for humanity, all acts and words will be confined to this max, doing to others as you would have them do to you. So when you really embrace these beatitudes, really embrace these viewpoints, I'm responsible for what I feel. I'm responsible how I relate with others. So I started treating others the way I want to be treated. Not because you are just want to be treated well, no, because you want to act with dignity. You want to act the way Jesus educated us. 2,000 years ago, we are slow learners, guys. We are very slow learners. Today is a new day. It's a chance for us to learn to let it go. Get out of prison. Let's get our freedom so we can walk more straight path towards our fathers. And that's the regeneration. That is the gap that is missing. The time we harbor animosity in our heart can be over if we embrace our inner transformation, if we embrace the Beatitudes, embrace Jesus' lesson, and allowed to reconnect with our Father, because that's what regeneration is all about. Is for us to align our energy in a vibration of a more loving vibration. And when we are humble, when we are meek, when we are merciful, we accept our parental guidance from our Father. That's the lack what is missing, because when we embrace animosity and enemies in our heart, we are refusing the parental guidance that God offers to all of us. So let's embrace and connect back with our Father. That's why Jesus said, study the Beatitudes, put in practice every single day. And if you cannot yet, ask God every single day to give you a willing heart to learn. Willing heart to learn. Just the first step, willing heart to learn. So that's the end of our talk. So we are open.